والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, we used to make a tafsir session, taking the surah, explaining the surah, trying to get the benefits from it. But since inshallah ta'ala, maybe this time is only a couple of weeks and then we have another break, so I thought maybe we can revive or review some of the principles, some of the foundations that we need to pay attention to when it comes to the Quran. Quran is the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing is the like of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Human beings, they speak and they understand words, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them the ability to understand. Ar-Rahman, علم القرآن, خلق الإنسان, علمه البيان. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He taught the humankind al-bayan, to be able to explain and to articulate what they want and what they think and so on. So that's why the Quran, being the best speech, nothing is the like of the Quran whatsoever, miraculous speech from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No matter how much time people spend to reflect upon the meanings of the Quran, it would never end. If all humanity, they get together and they're all given the best intellect and knowledge, and they all come up with one benefit from the Quran, that will be not enough. It will never end, because nothing is the like of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the more the Muslims spend the time in this short life that we live in to benefit from the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more he will excel in his life and in the hereafter. But the Quran, as the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, can either take the person to the highest levels or can take the person to the lowest levels, according to how we deal with the Quran and how we respect it and how we follow the Quran. And this is something that we need to pay attention to. And that's why the Quran is not just for anyone or for whatever means people want to extract benefits from it and to learn from it. They can do that. No, this is ilm, this is knowledge, this is science, that a person has to follow the authentic ways of understanding the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why the ulama of the tafsir, they said these principles and they made it very clear. The Quran, as Umar radiallahu anhu, he said, Hammal awjuh. That means it can have more than many meanings. Anybody that wants anything, he can get it from the Quran. If a person is righteous, he can get righteous meanings from the Quran. If a person is deviant, he can get whatever he wants from the Quran from his deviant thinking and beliefs and so on. That's why there's a very clear criteria not to be deviated, and that is to understand the Quran in the light of the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Because as it's always mentioned again and again, the wahy, the revelation from Allah, this is a matter of aqeedah, this is a matter of belief. And whoever does not have this belief, he needs to go back and review his aqeedah. His foundation is not right. Part of our aqeedah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed two things: the Quran and the Sunnah, the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Both were revealed. Both came down from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by Jibreel alayhi salam. Jibreel alayhi salam, angel Jibreel, used to come down and teach the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam the Quran and teach him the Sunnah. Both. And this is consensus, this is the belief of the people of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So whoever argue in this subject, right, this is not something that is a minor issue or a branch of knowledge that people can debate over. No, this is something that is already finished and it's already set and it's consensus. Whoever does not have that belief, he is not among the people of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. He's not among the guided ones. The person, if he denies the Sunnah in its totality, that takes the person even outside the fold of Islam. So we cannot explain the Quran without referring to the speech and actions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It does not happen, it cannot be happen, cannot be there. And that's why we have to be warned whenever we will listen to explanations of the Quran. Sometimes people would speak only about the linguistics of the Quran, from the Arabic language. there is nothing wrong with explaining the Quran with the Arabic language, but it does not stand alone. So if a person is talking about the Quran and explanation of the verses and mentioning the miraculous meanings of the linguistics, mashallah, this is beautiful. But without making the tafsir based on linguistics only, because this can be very deceiving, right? And even in linguistics, a person has to know the language of the Arabs at the time of the Prophet ﷺ and how the words meant then. And even that, for them, when it was revealed, it needed for the Prophet ﷺ to explain it to them. So the Prophet ﷺ, he explained the Quran, which is also a matter of aqeedah, a matter of belief. There is no verse in the Quran unless the Prophet ﷺ made the tafsir of it. And forgive me if I repeat these things, and you heard it many times, but this is what the Ummah needs to be united on, right? Because the deviation that happens among the Ummah of the Muslims is because of these things that they consider little things. The consensus among this Ummah that the Prophet ﷺ made the tafsir of the Quran, right? And we don't have a book that says the tafsir of the Prophet ﷺ, like we will have the tafsir of Kathir and Tabari and others. But what it means is the Prophet ﷺ made the tafsir of the Quran by his sunnah ﷺ. Quran was revealed, he taught it to the companions of Allah, explaining to them what it means in his speech, in his actions, in the things that he approved ﷺ. And this is how we understand the book of Allah, the Quran. Even the Quran from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would come down and correct some things that happened during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. One of which, there was an incident in Medina where one of the hypocrites, and this is in Surah An-Nisa, and many verses were revealed because of this incident, that one of the hypocrites in Medina, he stole something. He stole something from someone, regardless of what that thing that he stole, because the tafsir and the hadith talks about different things. So he stole something from someone, and when he was afraid that he is going to be caught, and people kind of realized that there was something stolen, he threw it in the house of a Jewish man. He threw that thing in the house, or said it, a flower or something of that nature, and he threw it in the house of a Jewish man living in a Medina. And the people, those who got their wealth stolen from them, they went to the Prophet ﷺ. He's the judge among the people. They told him that something had stolen, and the evidences were pointing to that hypocrite man. So when he came and his family came defending him, because he said to them, and he swore by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he didn't do anything. And they came to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ being a judge, and he said that to the people, I'm a human being when it comes to his judgment in disputes. There's no wahy, there's no revelation unless the revelation comes. And he said, if one of you, if one of you has more eloquency in his evidence, in his speech to defend himself, right, one might defeat the other, like how lawyers do and things like this. So then he said, whoever I give him, the meaning of which, whoever I give him something from his brother, whoever take a right from his brother, then I would say that this is for you, but it's not, because this is just based on the evidences being presented. Basically, this person is taking a portion of the hellfire. So which means, it doesn't matter if the judge make the verdict for your benefit if you are in fault. A person will not say, well, I'm right because the judgment came for my side, on my side. No, if a person is wrong, he's wrong, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. And he might have more power, more wealth, more influence, or whatever. There is no evidences. So this is what happened. And the Prophet ﷺ, when the people came and defended this hypocrite, and they told the Prophet ﷺ, it's so and so, the one that stole that thing, and they found that thing in his house. Right? So the evidence is on that person. So the verdict was about to be made against that Jewish man. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals to the Prophet ﷺ verses in Surah An-Nisa. Many verses talks about this. And giving innocent verdict to this Jewish man. To declare that he's innocent. And to declare that this hypocrite is the one that is alive. And the ayah وَلَا تَكُنِ الْخَائِنَ خَصِيمًا, ordering the Prophet ﷺ not to be in dispute with those who betray you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the messenger of Allah, وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكَ وَرَحْمَتُهُ لَهَمَّتْ طَائِفَةٌ مِّنْهُمْ أَن يُضِلُّوكَ وَمَا يُضِلُّونَ إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُمْ وَمَا يَضُرُّونَكَ مِنْ شَيْءٍ وَأَنزَلَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَعَلَّمَكَ مَا لَمْ تَكُنْ تَعْلَمُ وَكَانَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكَ عَظِيمًا. Which means, if it wasn't the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a group of them they were almost going to deviate you. If it wasn't by the favor of Allah and His mercy, a group of them were about to deviate you. لَهَمَّتْ طَائِفَةٌ مِّنْهُمْ أَن يُضِلُّوكَ. That a group of them were almost going to deviate you. But it's the favor of Allah and His mercy subhanahu wa ta'ala that He revealed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam the right verdict. وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكَ وَرَحْمَتُهُ لَهَمَّتْ طَائِفَةٌ مِّنْهُمْ أَن يُضِلُّوكَ وَمَا يُضِلُّونَ إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُم. That in reality they are deviating themselves. And they will never harm you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَمَا يَضُرُّونَكَ مِنْ شَيْءٍ وَأَنزَلَ اللَّهُ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought down to you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from the hikmah, from the wisdom and the knowledge that you did not know before. And the bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, azim, exalted, so great. So this is the Quran, the justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that this Jewish man, and he's not a Muslim, Quran will be revealed on his behalf for him, so that he is innocent, and to declare this evil person that he committed this crime. Before that, the verses before that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it so clear when it comes to faults and sins, how a person deal with it and how these things are, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to worship Him alone. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ سُوءًا أَوْ يَظْلِمْ نَفْسَهُ ثُمَّ يَسْتَغْفِرِ اللَّهَ يَجِدِ اللَّهَ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. Whoever do sue, evil, or transgress upon himself, whatever level of the sin is, then he seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ثُمَّ يَسْتَغْفِرِ اللَّهَ يَجِدِ اللَّهَ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. He would find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the most forgiver, the most merciful subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it doesn't matter how big or small the sin is, it's all according to how much a person would repent and return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If he's sincere, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept his repentance. And then the next ayah, وَمَنْ يَكْسِبْ إِثْمًا وَمَنْ يَكْسِبْ خَطِيئَةً أَوْ إِثْمًا وَمَنْ يَكْسِبْ إِثْمًا فَإِنَّمَا يَكْسِبُهُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ كَانَ اللَّهُ عَلِيمًا حَكِيمًا. And whoever earns sin, he is basically earned it for his own self. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all-knower, the most wise. When someone commits a sin, he's not benefiting himself, he's ruining himself. And this is how the Quran teaches us that there is no way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would forbid us of something and that thing will bring benefit to us. And this is the misery of the human beings. They think that they can benefit from the sins. And if anybody commits a sin, this is what's in the hearts of that person. Why will he commit a sin? Because his desire, he thinks will feel good. Will bring him some benefit. He would make more money, or he would feel good for moments or whatever, right? But then he does not think of what's coming beyond this. And there's no benefit in it whatsoever. It's nothing but loss. And if a person does not repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he keep on being in this loss, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. So there is one thing about falling into the sin, but another thing is about the person's attitude or what's in his heart when it comes to committing the sin. So thinking that the sin or disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be a benefiting thing, this is an evil belief or an evil thinking that a person has to purify himself from. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to this man that accused the Jewish man, وَمَنْ يَكْسِبْ خَطِيئَةً أَوْ إِثْمًا ثُمَّ يَرْمِي بِهِ بَرِيئًا فَقَدِ احْتَمَلَ إِثْمًا وَظُلْمًا وَقَدِ احْتَمَلَ بُهْتَانًا عَظِيمًا. That whoever earns sin, and he does not just do the sin for himself, but he would accuse others of it. He would slander others. He did the sin, and instead of acknowledging it, repenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he would accuse others of committing the sin that he did. Right? That person had carried a huge sin on himself, a huge burden on himself, that he accused someone else of that particular sin. So the Quran came down to fix some of these faults and to make things clear that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that nothing is the like of Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that we were ordered to follow his way because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam received that all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the believers are ordered to follow the way of the Prophet ﷺ. When anything in our life that we look into and we want to get the understanding of it from the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, we would see the perfect way. The dua, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for whatever things good in this life and in the hereafter, we do it according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Ud'u rabbakum tadarru'an wa khufya, innahu la yuhibbul mu'tadin." Ud'u means make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with tadarru'. Tadarru' with so much, with necessity, with the feel that you are in need, with so much necessity in your heart. Because if you don't have this in your heart, that means you're not very truthful in making your dua. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the wisdom of afflicting the believers with calamity in this life is for them to turn to Him alone subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the hearts are not fully relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants the believers for the hearts to be fully relying on Allah. Not to rely on anything but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fully. And if it's not like this, then the people will be tested. And they keep on being tested so that they would see. And this is by the mercy of Allah. If they don't get it from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, then they become physically tested as a ummah, as a whole, and so on, so that they would see there is no flee away, there is no benefit, there is no success whatsoever, unless they return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with repentance and they rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And this is when we see the dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants the believers to turn to Him. "Ud'u rabbakum tadarru'an." Tadarru'an, again, with so much exerting oneself in means of necessity that if it's not going to be from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's never going to happen. And this is the reality of this life, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the owner of all things. And when you read the Quran, you will find these meanings clearly in the context of the Quran. Like this ayah that I just mentioned, "Ud'u rabbakum tadarru'an wa khufya." If you go back a little bit, it talks about what? "Inna rabbakum Allahu alladhi khalaqa as-samawati wal ard." It is your Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one that created the heavens and the earth. وَأَنزَلَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً فَأَخْرَجَ بِهِ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ رِزْقًا لَكُمْ. And He is the one that brought down from the skies the rain and the provisions and all these plants, and all of this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَسَخَّرَ لَكُمُ الشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ وَالنُّجُومَ مُسَخَّرَاتٍ بِأَمْرِهِ. And He made the sun and the moon for your own benefit. And the stars, right? And this is إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَعْلَمُونَ. These are signs for people, those who have knowledge. Immediately after that, if this belief is in the heart, if a person believes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Lord of the Alameen, and He's the one that created the heavens and the earth and the sun and the moon, and all of this is for us, therefore, then the hearts are ready. "Ud'u rabbakum tadarru'an wa khufya." He's the one that deserves for people to rely on. If the hearts depending on other than Allah, they're not creators, they're not the lords of the heavens and the earth. They don't own anything, so why fear them? Why rely on them? Why panic? Why be terrified? Right? But instead to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tadarru'an wa khufyan. "Innahu la yuhibbul mu'tadin." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not love those who are transgressors. And then after that, "Ud'u rabbakum tadarru'an wa khufya, innahu la yuhibbul mu'tadin, wa la tufsidu fil ardi ba'da islahiha, wad'uuhu khawfan wa tama'an, inna rahmatallahi qareebun minal muhsinin." After realizing that the dua is to be done to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone with this attitude of tadarru' and being khufya means not loud, not screaming. As the Prophet ﷺ, when he heard people raising their voice in their dhikr, on their dua, he said ﷺ, إِنَّكُمْ لَا تَدْعُونَ أَصَمًّا وَلَا غَائِبًا. You're not calling upon someone that is deaf or someone that is not present. You're calling someone that is Sami'. He's the all-hearer, the all-seer subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you're making dua, you don't have to scream so that it reaches. It's you do it with humble way, with lower voice and so on. And right after that, if the dua, if a person is sincerely making the dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after having the rububiyyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in house, that He is the creator of all things and so on, وَلَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ بَعْدَ إِصْلَاحِهَا. Do not corrupt on earth after this earth has been rectified and after it's been pure. How this corruption on earth happens? The trees are the same, and the land, and the creation of Allah is not necessarily, although some people, the human beings, they corrupt these things too, right? But what is meant by the fasad here is with the sins. The actions that does not look physical to humanity, this is the ifsad fil ard. This is the corruption on earth. When people commit sins, when they disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are spreading corruption on earth. So when us as Muslims, we do not obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with our actions, right? We need to witness that these actions that you might not see as physical actions, when a person makes his salah, is away from haram, worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. These are actions. This is the way to bring all kinds of goodness on earth. Otherwise, a person is committing and spreading corruption on earth. So when a person is in that state of iman, then he will not spread corruption on earth. Otherwise, he will then be punished in this life and the hereafter. And then the call from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again to call and to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, khawfan wa tama'an, out of the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and hoping for the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ادعوا ربكم وادعوه خوفا وطمعا إن رحمة الله قريب من المحسنين. The means for the dua to be accepted, because the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is close to those who are muhsineen, those who are good doers. So the dua is the calling upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with al-ihsan, with goodness, with worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we don't see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the case, then we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is seeing us, as the Prophet ﷺ said. And this is what the Quran is calling us. And this is the way of the Quran always. So it's not just instructions to do things, but it's all with means of convincing and for the hearts to be attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And this is, if as these examples are mentioned like this, we need to start to recite the Quran with reflecting upon its meanings, with seeking help and seeking mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by reciting the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and knowing for sure that nothing will become easy unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it easy. He subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that makes things easy or make it difficult for us, because He's the owner of all things. But the deception, as we always talk about this deception, Quran, whoever recites the Quran, he will be protected from being deceived. And as the statement that I always repeat, which is by Imam al-Barbahari rahimahullah, great Imam of this ummah, he said, الناس في خداع منتصر. People are in a continuous deception. They are deceived. They are always deceived. Because they don't read the Quran. They don't get to know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from them. So they're deceived. When they think if a person has a lot of wealth, he's a successful person. That's enough criteria for him to be successful. Or if he has so much physical power or fame, he's a successful person, and that's it. Right? This is the deception of the human beings. The criteria of what is right and what is wrong is all distorted. The Quran will make the matter clear to us. And the believers, they should not be immersed in these deceptions. This is a shame. So when for Muslims, a person finds that things are difficult and people are talking negative about Islam and so on, this is all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person should not see the people. His heart should not be vision, having that he's looking at the people, attach the heart to the people. No, look beyond this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most wise. Why this is happening? If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will, nothing of that will happen. But this is happening for a reason. And then when we read the Quran, we will see the reason, see the ways. We will see the stories of the prophets and why things happened when it was difficult for them. All of which were the believers to establish the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone and to fulfill the tawheed, the oneness of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, and to enjoy good and forbid evil and so on. Because this is what it's all about. It's not about the fame in this life or the wealth and so on. It's about establishing the ubudiyyah, the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us benefit from the book of Allah and to make us reflect upon these verses and to be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.